Public affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.
The request for re-election in the 17th and lacing up those running shoes for a marathon in the cities. Cheri Bustos has served as the representative for the 17th Congressional District in Illinois since 2013. The district stretches from the Wisconsin border to include Galena and parts of Rockford, then follows the Mississippi River south to about the Dallas city area, and then pushes east to include parts of Pekin and Peoria. Sterling, Galesburg, Canton, the Quad Cities, all part of the 17th. And Bustos is seeking a fourth term, is being challenged by a Republican, Bill Faywell, a Galena real estate agent. And joining us is Representative Cheri Bustos, Democrat from East Moline. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jim.
We start the same way every time. Why are you running one more time? And tell me a little bit more about you.
Oh, so much work to do. You know, I'm proud of the first, I've only been in office 5.5-ish years. So when somebody says I'm running for my fourth term, it sounds like, wow, that's a long time. Well, when each term is 2 years, I've been there about 5.5 years right now. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, worked really hard for the Rock Island Arsenal. We've passed some very good legislation. You and I have talked before about what we did to help Galesburg when they had problems with their lead pipes that were going into people's homes. We've done a lot for the aerospace industry in the Rockford area. We have saved the Ag Lab, the Agricultural Research Lab, the largest one of its kind in the entire country, out of Peoria. So, I mean, you can look at each region of our district, our massive 14-county, 7,000 square mile district, and I think we can point to some real accomplishments that we've been able to achieve on behalf of people I'm fortunate enough to serve. But a lot of work to do. And a lot of it has to do with the promises that had been made on behalf of the gentleman sitting in the White House right now. Things like promise to pass a $1 trillion transportation package that's yet to materialize. And anybody knows as you drive on the Quad City streets or where you see the $1.2 billion bridge that's going over the Mississippi River, the importance of that on the economy, that we've got to make that happen. So I would say it's not only just making things like that work, but the other promise that rang very loudly during the presidential cycle about health care, we've got a lot of work to do there. Health prices are going up, prescription drug prices are going up, and we, meaning the Democrats who are serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, have a plan to address that. And I think that after November, and when we are, hopefully I'm successful in this election and sworn in next January, we'll be able to make some good things happen.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, the House is really up for grabs in a lot of different ways. The Democrats are doing the best they can to take over the House. How critically important is that as far as what you want to accomplish if reelected?
I happen to think it's critically important. Look, I'm a Democrat that is serving in a congressional district that voted for Donald Trump. I'm somewhat of a political unicorn from that perspective. There are only 13 members of the U.S. House of Representatives who are Democrats serving in a district that Donald Trump won. So I recognize, and whether Donald Trump won our district or not, I recognize the importance of bipartisanship, of working across the aisle to get things done. But I also recognize that when we wake up day after day after day, and the news cycle starts with a tweet coming out of the White House, and how that is a diversion from all of the work that we have to get done, I realize why it is so important to be that check. When you look at the checks and the balances that we all studied back when we were in school, how important that is. And right now, Washington is run at every lever of power by the Republicans who are in the majority, at the House level, the Senate, the White House, and now with the new Supreme Court appointees. Then there's also, that's leaning in a farther and farther right position.
Tip O'Neill always said all politics, I'm screwing up the quotation, but
all
politics is local,
yeah.
Of course. And how much of a factor do you think Donald Trump is playing in this particular election as far as your campaign is concerned?
Well, let's bring it back to ag. This
I was going to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect segue to that. This is an agricultural-driven economy, not just in the district that I serve, but in the entire state of Illinois. If we want to go across the river into Iowa, same thing in Iowa. Throughout the Midwest, we have some of the best farmland anywhere in the world. And this trade war that we are in the middle of right now is a unilateral trade war that has come from one man who started all of this, again, with his tweets. And now, as every day passes, we never know what's right around the corner. Family farmers, their income is down to about decade level lows. The price of soybeans is at about a decade level low. Harvest is going on right now, or just about ready to begin. We could have near record yields, and we might not have the markets to sell our corn and our beans or our hogs to. So very, very big concern. And this was just not necessary. It was not necessary. We've got to do what we can to fight for our family farmers who are going through this. I just introduced a piece of legislation with a Senate colleague, Heidi Heitkamp, out of North Dakota, to say that because of the harm that the president has done with these tariffs, let's take that money that we have collected as a nation and use that to find new markets for our family farmers. I think it's a good answer to a self-induced crisis that doesn't need to be there. And I see it as my job, back to your point about all politics being local, I see it as my job to fight for our family farmers and make sure that we can do everything we can to help them through this crisis.
The President has repeatedly said that he wants to renegotiate these trade pacts that are whether it is NAFTA or if it is out to the Pacific or any of the other ones that have occurred. Farmers really are strong believers in just let us sell to other markets. Where does that stand then right now? I mean, it's kind of a catch-22 for so many different farmers that want to be able to trade, but then you're seeing these wars going on. Well,
we're in a unique place in this part of the country because manufacturing is also our base. You know, right down the road we make combines. So this is the world headquarters for John Deere. Caterpillar is one of the largest employers in Peoria. Again, we have major aerospace manufacturing in the northern part of our district. So manufacturing is very, very important, as is family farming. So that's kind of what we always have to balance. We want new markets. We want to strengthen our relationships with Mexico and Canada as opposed to hurt them, as the president has been battling with two of our biggest agricultural trading partners. But at the same time, as we look at NAFTA, I want to make sure that our workers are not hurt. And Jim, you've been around here long enough to know that when plants like Maytag left Galesburg 14 years ago and took thousands of jobs with them, the economy in Knox County still hasn't recovered to the same level it was 14 years ago. So I think it's this healthy mix of finding new markets, for instance, for our family farmers, but making sure that we fight as hard as we can for our workers as well. And that's the balance we have to make sure that we have here.
Taking one more look at the macro political scene right now is that you're seeing some progressive candidates that are knocking off customarily traditional Democrats. You're also seeing a real base that Donald Trump still continues to hold, 40% approval in so many different ways, that he still has a great deal of support. Where does a Cheri Bustos come in this?
Well, I hope I come in at a practical level. I know that people around our neck of the woods here, I don't think they're looking for anybody who is either far right or far left. The expectation of whoever is sent to Washington, D.C., or for that matter, who's sent to Springfield, or who our mayor is, or our county board member, or anybody else, I think the expectation is that we get things done. There's a list of all members of Congress and where they fall on the bipartisan spectrum. In other words, how much do they work across the aisle? And of all of the Democrats that serve, I am number 6 on that list. And I'm proud to say that. I think I work very, very hard on the kind of local issues that we've just talked about, our family farmers, our workers, our hardworking men and women, you know, the problem with lead in Galesburg, any of that. But at the same time, when you're in the minority, like I'm in the minority party, you better figure out a way that you can find reasonable people across the aisle to work with. So you know, as far as my style of politics or governing where it fits in, I hope it won't go out of style. I think if in the end you do these things, that you work really, really hard for people, that you fight for folks you're representing when you have a fight on your hands, and number 3, that you get results. I hope that kind of governing doesn't go out of style.
Biggest issue right now, well, that could be argued, I guess, is the Farm Bill that is, of course, still journeying through Congress.
Yeah, that's one of the big issues right now.
I shouldn't say the biggest. You're on the Agriculture Committee,
yeah.
Of course. You voted against the Farm Bill earlier this year. Not a single Democrat signed on, so you weren't really, that wasn't that unusual, I guess. What were you looking for in the compromise? Because the Senate, some were saying, was a little more pragmatic for farmers than the House version. What are you looking for?
Well, a little further context, because I don't want it to appear that it was only Democrats that voted against this on the House floor. It only passed by 2 votes. So there were many Republicans who also voted against this. It was a bad piece of legislation. Now, if you look across to the Senate side, that passed by a vote of 88-11. And the reason that passed in wide bipartisan fashion is because the Democrats and the Republicans on the Senate side worked together from day one. And on our side of the aisle, it was one of the most troubling things I've seen legislatively, in that Democrats were totally locked out of the process. We were handed a finished bill a few days before we voted on it, and we were expected to think that this was okay. I can tell you, no matter what, you come out with a better product if people work together. We're from all different regions of this country. We represent all different sorts of geography and people, folks who do all different kinds of work. And from that for that matter, even from an agricultural perspective, you know, we're corn and bean country here, but there are other areas where it's almonds or avocados or anything else. We're going to come out with a better product if we make a choice from day one to work together. So the problem with this House version of the Farm Bill is that it was done unilaterally. We were locked out of the process, and it ended up not being a very good bill.
The ongoing effort, of course, by some is to remove the food stamp program, the SNAP program, from the Farm Bill. That's 75% of the Farm Bill expenses is going in that area. Do you think that's ultimately going to succeed, and would you like to see 2 separate type of bills, one aimed basically for farming, the growing of crops, the taking care of livestock, and another for the food stamp program?
Well, it's an issue of practicality. When you have urban lawmakers who are from places, let's say downtown Chicago, or let's say San Francisco or New York City, there are folks who maybe have never driven by a cornfield or a bean field, or never seen a hog or cattle in their lives. To get urban lawmakers to be supportive of a farm bill that helps our family farmers, putting together the nutrition program and the agricultural components of that is necessary. It's more of a practicality than anything else. That's how we can pass a farm bill, is to make sure that we have a component that resonates more for urban lawmakers, and components that also resonate with areas like ours.
Well, and that's what always made it kind of a bipartisan bill,
right,
which has changed dramatically lately. I mean, is that something that you're expecting will just continue?
Well, I happen to have been assigned to the conference committee, which I'm pleased to be on that. I'm the only Democrat from Illinois assigned to that conference committee, which means that in the conference committee, the House version and the Senate version are brought together, and we try to work out those differences. I think in the end, if we don't make compromises and on the nutrition program and to be part of the overall farm bill, I think we'll have a hard time getting that passed by the end of this month, which is the deadline for the existing farm bill. It will expire at the end of this month.
Renewable fuel standards, once again, has been a huge issue for the farm country as well. EPA been under attack for some of the rulings that they have had, some of the regulations that they've tried to enforce. What do you say to America's farmers regarding that protection for them?
It's a very, very important part of our agricultural economy where we sit right now. We have 7 biofuels, ethanol plants just in our congressional district. It's about a $2 billion a year economic driver for Illinois. And what happened under the Trump administration is the EPA had been handing out what's called these waivers to the refinery business, which told them that they didn't have to do the ethanol blend that is so important for our family farmers. And it's really hurt the market. So I have written, gosh, I think it ended up being like a 4-page letter to the EPA asking for transparency in this, asking them to explain to us why are they handing out these waivers, Can we do the ethanol, the 15% ethanol year round? Because right now in the hot summer months we don't have that. That is something else that would help our farmers. So it's another fight that we have on our hands. I think it's unfortunately again a self-induced problem under this administration that we find ourselves in the middle of, and we'll just keep fighting for our family farmers on this one.
What is the federal role when it comes to sexual harassment in the workplace? We're seeing yet another titan of industry, less movies.
From ethanol to sexual harassment.
I know, it's a bit of a change here, but I only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure I get on the other.
All right.
And I know that you were a part of an investigative group, I guess, what had to do with Mike Madigan, that you had stepped away from that for different reasons. But what is the role there for the federal government?
Well, I think our role is making sure that the laws protect people, especially in the workplace, from having sexual harassment be a part of their daily work. And that has happened all over this country. I've introduced a piece of legislation. I think it's very practical. I'm hoping that we'll be able to be successful with it, and I don't think it's going to happen this session, maybe next session. But what it calls for is, I've got to take a second to explain this, and I'll try to make it very clear. There are 60 million Americans in the workforce who, just by the simple notion of being given a handbook, for example, that they are signing away their rights if they happen to be on the receiving end of being sexually harassed. And what I mean by that is that it is the employer that can say, if you are sexually harassed, your only option is to go into what's called forced arbitration, meaning it is an arbitrator hired by the employer who will figure out if something went wrong and if there's some kind of settlement, whether it be monetary or otherwise, that should happen. That takes away an employee's right from, and especially in a class action suit, from being able to take something to court. So you could have rampant sexual harassment. This person after this person after this person after this person. And under the forced arbitration that 60 million Americans are working under, they can do nothing through the court of law. So the bill that I've introduced, and we have bipartisan support in the House, and we have an identical bill in the Senate, that would remove that forced arbitration clause as a part of an employee contract, where employees can choose to go to arbitration, or they can choose, especially if there's a class action cause, to go to the courthouse or to the courtroom and see through it that way.
It's because, in your opinion, these clauses are just protecting the company and there's no protection for worker. Does the federal government then have a greater role then, you're saying?
Well, I'm saying the federal government can help alleviate this problem by having this legislation that would be signed into law. It would, the bill that we have written would not allow companies to have those forced arbitration clauses. That's what I mean by that. And anytime a case goes into arbitration, more than 80% of the time, the person who is on the receiving end of whatever the claim is loses. And any settlement is a fraction of what it would be if it were to go through the courthouse, which I think is the way to do this. You remove it, all of the benefit being in one person's court as opposed to the other person.
A few minutes left. I want to get into school safety, which I guess we could talk a whole half hour about as well. You're seeing some of the rural school districts looking toward perhaps allowing their teachers to be armed. Is there a federal role here as well to make our students, our classes more safe?
You know, it is such a deeper problem than to think that it will be solved by having teachers have a weapon in their desk. Or a weapon in their purse, or in their, just having access to a weapon. I mean, if you play this whole thing out, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And the fact that the Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, thinks that this is the way we should be spending taxpayer dollars to make sure that our teachers are armed, as opposed to looking at so many other societal issues. Our school district from one to the next, if you're in inner city Chicago versus if you are at New Trier, which is considered one of the most elite public schools in the state of Illinois, we shouldn't have such a range of educational experiences for our kids. And we should have after-school opportunities no matter where you live. And we should make sure that a parent never has to worry about when their kid's going to school that they're going to be safe. But there are so many other ways and so many other programs we can look at than arming our teachers. I just don't think that's a good idea.
17th District, Representative Cheri Bustos, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
We want to tell you that we interviewed Bill Fawell last week, and you'll get to hear from the two candidates for Iowa's 2nd Congressional District, Dave Loebsack and Christopher Peters, in the next 2 weeks. In a moment, the long run, getting ready for the Quad Cities Marathon. But first, here's Laura Adams, Out and About.
This is Out and About for September 10th through 16th. The Rock Island Arsenal Military Community is holding a 9/11 remembrance ceremony September 11th at 10:30 a.m. on the Rock Island Arsenal. Take a tour of the American brewing landscape 1 ounce at a time at Brouhaha September 15th in LeClaire Park. Or visit the Riversance Festival of Fine Arts September 15th and 16th in Lindsay Park with over 100 artisans. Centennial Park is the location for the Celtic Festival and Highland Games September 14th and 15th, while the Fall Belgian Festival, a free Flemish celebration, features activities centered around the Belgian culture. Walk to prevent suicide and promote mental health awareness at the Out of the Darkness Walk the 16th at Ben Butterworth Parkway. Join River Action's Taming of the Slough and Adventure Triathlon. To participate, register now. Geneseo is the place for the 57th Annual Antique Engine and Tractor Working Farm event September 14th through 16th. The annual Buckskin Rendezvous takes place in the upper part of Wildcat Den State Park in Muscatine, and Playcrafters presents the drama Tuesdays with Maury opening September 14th. There's one more week to see Mamma Mia at Circa 21 Dinner Playhouse, or journey back to Paris under the Eiffel Tower when the Moulin Rouge was the place to be, as Ballet Quad Cities presents Paris on Point in the Galvin Fine Arts Center on the 15th. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. We are just days away from what's becoming a fall classic, the Quad Cities Marathon. What started as a long 26-mile run has become a full weekend of healthy competition and highlighting what running can do for all of us. And joining us right now is Laura Whitnable with the Quad Cities Marathon, the Assistant Race Director. How you doing?
Good, good.
Training, everyone's getting ready. The weather hopefully is going to be nice.
Yep.
The marathon, like I said, is now a fall classic. I mean, I remember when it first started.
Yes.
It's really come a long way.
Oh yeah, I mean with technology today, social media, people are posting about it, you know, the training groups, it's definitely grown to its own little fall classic for sure.
And it's not only, I mean, you really want to underline this because you have an elite group of runners. I mean, you are attracting international talent to the Quad Cities. Yeah,
we usually have runners from 8 to 10 to 12 different countries come. Usually around 40 different states, so this is definitely not just a local race. We have elite athletes coming from Kenya, Ethiopia, Australia, so yeah, it's definitely a worldwide event.
What's the big draw? Because I mean, it's unique that it's two, you know, states, you cross bridges. I mean, that's cool for a lot of us in the region, but for the elite runners, they couldn't care less. Are they even looking up?
Oh, I mean, I think we take for granted the Mississippi River. I mean, people who don't grow up around, I mean, we definitely, you know, we take that for granted. We see it every day. So I think that is a big draw. To go over the bridges is kind of an amazing thing. And I think it's, you know, we're a smaller marathon compared to some of the bigger ones, but we're definitely like a little family. We recognize the runners that come back every year, which is just kind of awesome. It's exciting to see people improve. You know, maybe they did the half one year, now they're doing the full or something. So definitely to see people improving in their running journey.
Is this a great spot on the calendar too? I mean, a late September run?
It has its benefits. I guess if it's going to be warm, people have been training through the summer.
Good point.
Versus maybe people doing a spring marathon, they might be running a lot on the treadmill. So it's always the fourth Sunday in September, so mark your calendars.
The other thing is that it's more than just a race. It's more than just a run. I mean, you're trying to make it a full fitness event, and it all starts in a lot of ways on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday we start out with the Fleet Feet Shakeout Run at 8 a.m. We're going to even look into do some yoga even before that, which is definitely kind of getting people stretched and ready to go. And then we have our packet pickup, the Active Endeavors Health and Fitness Expo, starting from 9 to 5, so everyone comes. We have vendors from all over the country, a lot of local vendors also, so you can get socks and shoes and, you know,
look the part.
Right, yeah, look like a legit runner. runner.
Yeah, there you go, which
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not running fast, at least you look nice.
And there's so many people that can take part that don't want to run the 26 miles. I mean, you got the half marathon, you've got the relay. There's a lot of different opportunities for people. I don't want to say at all levels, but pretty close to all levels.
Yeah, I mean, we have a 1 mile run walk. It is competitive, so we do have some people that are doing like some sub 5 miles. But you know, there's the 1 mile. We have the kids races as well, so it's a half mile or a quarter mile, half mile, and a full mile for the kids. That's all on Saturday. And then we have the 5K, relay, half, and the full.
I mean, you kind of look at what the Quad Cities offers now. I mean, you've got biking, you've got the Bix, you've got this. I mean, fitness is becoming, I don't want to say big business, which it is, obviously, but it's also becoming much more ingrained in us right now.
Oh yeah, I mean the Quad Cities is a great running community. You know, there's a lot of different running groups and training groups, and you know, it's just kind of cool to see everyone on a Saturday morning come out to a race and support the other, you know, local charities that also are looking for support. So, I mean, we're really lucky when we come to the Quad Cities, and I don't think people recognize that until they leave, and then they're like, oh, yeah, it's not the same. So, I mean, we're really lucky on our running community.
And the route is the same.
Yep.
So you're starting I mean, the name's changed, the Tax Layer Center now. I mean, you're starting in the heart of Moline, and you're still going the same route.
Yep, same route as last year.
Because some people might be a little worried about all the construction that's going on throughout the area.
Yep, and we are in contact with our construction contacts every day now. But yeah, everything's the same for this year, which works out great for all of our volunteers and mile markers and our course certification for Boston.
Yeah, and since it's an early Sunday morning, I mean, the I-74 bridge usually is not that big of an issue, but there's a lot of work going on in that area as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, every day something's changing for sure, which is awesome to see that this bridge, you know, in a few years we'll be crossing it. It'll be a little bigger. So.
Yeah, I don't know the people that weren't here last year or were not here since last year.
Yeah.
Such a major change in the sightseeing. Also a new thing is bring a photo ID in case you want to, how do I say this, imbibe after the race. Why is that important?
Yeah, something new this year, bringing a photo ID either to the packet pickup or race day to get a wristband to enjoy some beverages.
Libations, we say?
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure you do that.
Yep.
All right, and register now. Now's the time.
Yep, prices, increase just as you continue to go.
Yeah, so don't do that.
No, register now.
Laura Whitten-Abel, who is the Assistant Race Director, Quad City Marathon, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope for good weather.
Yes,
Hope for a great number of people, too. That'll be excellent. WQPT is doing its part to support the military men and women in the cities who are serving our nation. We call it Embracing the Military. And next weekend, you can climb aboard and catch the North Siders, the Chicago Cubs, taking on the South Siders, the White Sox. The Rock Island NWR is organizing the September 22nd bus trip that leaves the cities for a round trip to Guaranteed Rate Field and back. The cost $119 per ticket. You can contact the Leisure Travel Office in Building 333 to book your tickets now. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device. Thanks for taking some time to join us. We talk about the issues on the cities.
Public affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.